Olivia is doesn't doesn't look like she has 20 years under her belt, but she's a marketing veteran. She told me 20 years. I would have thought less, but and she's executive director of downtown Bernardsville, which is changing to Main Street, Bernardsville. And this is part one. We'll put this up again at the end, but we have a part two next week at the same time. And there you'll take your marketing plan that you developed today and between now and the next session. And Olivia will walk us through how to use Canva and plan that to really move forward with your campaign. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Olivia because she's the one you want to hear from today, not me.
Awesome. All right. Now the only question is, can I get my screen shared? You would think that I have a better handle of technology. Here we go. So today's session is going to be a workshop. So I encourage everybody to be prepared to do a little bit of work today and to get your mind in the mode of, we're going to create a plan so that we can take the next steps that we need to be able to do the actual work. I'm really looking forward to connecting with a lot of you. If you would be so kind, and this is just so I can have an idea of who's here today, if you can just throw in the chat your business, either your business name or your industry, or what about today brought you here. That would be really great, just to kind of help me kind of understand a little bit about all of you. And also, there will be areas as we move forward where I may kind of call out your concept as a potential example to help further understand what we're talking about. So feel free to just throw in the chat your business name or your industry. And also just a reminder as well, if you would be so kind as to put yourselves on mute while we're doing the chatting part, while I'm sharing, just because I get super distracted by extra noises when I speak. So if you would be so kind, that would be wonderful. I appreciate it so much. So I'm just gonna look at the chat a little bit. Cool. And feel free to share it with everyone. You're welcome to send it just to me. That's totally cool. But definitely feel free to share with everyone, just so you can all connect with each other as well. I've in my experience, I found that connecting with others who are in the same boat as you are sometimes really is helpful to sort of connect with each other and say, hey, how did you do your strategy? What did you think about this point? Is this working for you? Almost like an accountability partner. It's really good to just connect with fellow business owners in the process as well. So awesome. Rachel, hi Rachel. Cool. So while you guys continue doing that, please definitely put your info in the chat. I would love to hear a little bit more about you. Just to break down just a little bit of what we're looking at over session one today, and then also next week's session. Today's all about the plan. We're going to start with setting you up for success. And essentially in our context, that means that we are getting our workspace ready, preparing ourselves with the right tools that we need to be able to execute everything that we need to do, that we're going to be talking about today and next week. We're going to talk about something called an audience audit. We're going to put some goals down, and then we're going to create a strategy based on those things and get yourself ready for next week to actually do the social media portion. And I'll talk a little bit about why that's so important. It's tough to do the work sometimes. We are so busy. I am right there with all of you. I run a downtown organization. We do events constantly. We have beautification projects. We're trying to support our local business community, trying to provide resources for our residents, a number of other things. We have so many things going on. So I completely understand it's tough to do the work. But when it comes to things like this, if you don't do the work, then you won't find success. End of story. So day two next week, or day two, session two next week, we're going to review the strategy planner. That'll be part of your homework. Yes, there's a little bit of homework. And then we're going to talk about, basic design elements and information that'll really help you moving forward, especially if you're working with other folks in design capacities, and then scheduling your posts, and then understanding the concept of measurement and reporting, which is just as important as posting to social media itself. So let's just jump right in. So we're going to set ourselves up for success. And this comes down to just setting up your workspace. And a lot of us, especially when it comes to digital marketing, setting up your workspace is your computer or your laptop or your tablet or whatever digital tool that you use to do your social media. A lot of times we're on our phones doing it, which is great. I hate doing it personally from my phone. I have glasses, I can't see anything, so it's tough for me to do that. I like to have the full desktop versions. That's my preference. All of these recommendations I'm offering you, feel free to try them out. If they don't always work for you, that's okay. Everybody plans and organizes themselves differently. These are recommendations, so tailor them to whatever fits for you. So create that digital workspace that matches your physical workspace. So if you have files all over your desktop and they're like piling on top of each other because you don't have them organized in folders, I'm going to assume that your desk is also a little bit of a mess. There's papers everywhere, there's stuff over here, you're shoving things aside to make room for your laptop. So clean up your digital workspace just like you would clean up your regular workspace. Organize your desk, make it nice and clear, helps you clear your brain if you can do that. If you thrive off of a messy environment, feel free to keep it that way. But whatever it is, make sure that your digital space is matched up with your physical space. If it's conflicting, then you're going to have conflicting situations happening while you're trying to think about what you need to do next. Another really fun tip, choose programs that open automatically on your computer as soon as you open it up. So if you're turning on your computer, and I'm a Mac user, so the apps bounce around whenever they open up.
Excuse me, Olivia.
Yes.
We're actually not seeing your screens.
Oh, you're not?
It says presenter window. This window is just for you.
Resume share. It's not letting me resume the share.
You want to go out and try coming back in?
You
don't have to totally leave. Just, let's see if you can share.
Let's start again. Sorry about that. Why would it be doing that?
I don't know. Otherwise, I can go into Dropbox and maybe do it.
Well, let's see. Hold on one second here. Let's close this.
And thank you, Meg, for letting me know. I was looking and I wasn't even recognizing that it wasn't the full slide. Now I see a slide.
You see slides. Cool. So let's go back here. Do we not see anything at all?
It was just it looked like you were trying to do it, but it didn't do it. So we see take it step by step. Take it
step by step. All right. So this is, and you'll get a copy of these slides. So they were really just sort of pretty looking. You didn't really miss too much content there. So thank you for stopping me. If there are any issues with technology, if I'm glitchy or whatever, please also make sure you say something because obviously we want to give you the full effect. Okay, so here's where we were setting up your workspace. Give yourself the opportunity to set yourself up for success when you do these types of things. These types of tips are really just to kind of get you focused and going. And if you don't remember to open up a certain app or a certain program that would help you get to the next step, then have your technology do that for you. There's a lot of automation type processes that you can put in place so that things just open up immediately when you just get started for the day. And a lot of times this is helpful if you're getting started on using a project management tool and you need to look at your list for the day, or if you don't remember a certain website, have it as a bookmark and just click a quick link at the top. There are lots of opportunities to be able to find out how to do those things based on the system you have online, of course. If you ever have questions for me on, how do I do this? I'm always happy to help if you need it. Use some sort of planner or something to keep you on track, especially when you're planning out something like a strategy, social media, other types of tactics. Have it written down in some capacity. It can be handwritten, can be digital, whatever works for you. And similar to, all of what people say all the time, try to eliminate distractions. And I will ask that of you today, if you can, for the next, for the next 45 minutes, I will ask if you can put phones on silent, do not disturb mode, whatever the case may be, and really focus on what we're talking here today, because you're physically going to be stopping and filling things out. So I encourage you to just eliminate distractions as much as possible as we move through the workshop today. These are also a few tips for you, some programs to help you succeed, some must-haves to really get you on the path. Like I mentioned, project management, being able to store all your files and sharing those files. When we do social media, it's all digital stuff. So having that accessible, kind of like how we already shared the links, the slides with you with a Dropbox link in the chat. Files are right there. I'm sharing those files with you. They're ready to go. So having that is really helpful, especially if you have some folks helping you with your social media. Someone's taking photos for you, or you need some sort of communication of passing one file to the next, and then everything gets lost in email. It's all over the place. Narrow it down, get it focused, have file storage and sharing available. Branding or design, we'll be talking about that in the next session as well, using Canva. Email marketing is absolute must. Email remains gold in the marketing world, so consider that as part of your tools in your digital toolkit. Obviously a website, so you want hosting, a way to do a website, and social media scheduling, which we'll be talking about here, and then measurement tools as well, which we'll be talking about. All of these right here, these are certainly nice to have. If it doesn't make sense for you in your business, you don't need one. If you are in real estate, you don't need a point of sale system. Maybe you do, maybe you're going to sell something, great. But for the most part, these are nice to have. You don't necessarily need all of these digital things, but these are really helpful to have in your digital toolkit. My recommended programs, there's a ton of them out there. I have tried so many of them. What works for me may not work for you. What has worked for you may not work for me. Totally cool. In my history and my use, these are the ones that are the best that I've gone through. I've used Bluehost as a hosting platform. Absolutely horrendous customer service. GoDaddy has been the best for me. So if it doesn't work for you, understood. But GoDaddy is great for being able to purchase a website. And even they have a new very easy to use tool to be able to create a website comparable to something like Wix or another self-service website developer that you can just very easily do yourself. So there's a really great feature there, and reasonable in price as well. So plan that, and Canva is what we're going to be referring to in the next session and what we will be getting towards. So definitely look up those links after the session is over. If you don't have an account with them, set a free one up. They both have free accounts. They also have paid versions, but we all start with free. It's all good. And then we'll go from there. Okay, creating our plan. Do we have any, before I jump into the plan part, do we have, Nancy, any questions yet on any of the recommendations for setting ourselves up for success?
JD, I didn't know if Olivia has subsequently answered your question. You said, please, can you share some examples? And then she just did the slide with GoDaddy and Canva and others. So JD, was there other things that you were asking for examples for? JD, I don't know if you're on mute or you can put something in the chat, but let's go ahead. That was it. Olivia, the others.
Okay. All right. Yeah. And we can come back to that afterwards as well. So, all good there. And I'm happy to share them during the breakout sessions as well. I'll throw some ideas in the chat. Okay. So here we are today. We're going to create a plan. And the reason why we start with this is you cannot be successful with your social media marketing, or really any marketing for your business, unless you have intentions and a plan. Without that, you're just shooting in the dark and hoping something sticks. And that's not really effective social media. And I find a lot of small businesses, just post things, or they get somebody's neighbor to post, some neighbor's kid to post for them. And, that's all great. And being present sometimes is better than nothing at all. But the best thing that you could do is have a plan in place so that you know exactly what you are trying to achieve, and then measuring the outcomes and finding out if it's successful or not. So we're going to start with our first worksheets. And if you did not receive these worksheets, they were emailed to you when you received the link to log in for this session today. But if you need them, Nancy, I think you have a link that you can add, or something you can add in the chat for that.
Yeah, it's on the chat at the very top, but I'll add it again.
Okay,
So that it's
great.
right here.
if you are unable to print them out now for any reason, that's fine. See if you can at least open them up on your screen so you can see what we're looking at. You are going to be working on these. So if you can't print them out, get a piece of paper or open up like a notes app or something where you can write some of these answers down. This is what I mentioned earlier, the audience audit. And it's a kind of a two-part process when you're auditing your audience. You're first starting with yourself. And then your second step is to understand them, your actual people that will eventually purchase from you, hire you for service, whatever the case may be. We have to start with us. We start with the core, right? We are in business. We have chosen to be in this specific business for whatever our reasons are. And this is where our audience audit comes into play. We're going to define those reasons and understand why exactly are we doing what we're doing. Also known as what's your why? Because that core foundational element will lead you to be able to plan your goal so that you can be successful in your business, continue doing it, hopefully avoid burnout in the process, because once we start getting burned out in our work world, we start to get a little resentful, I'm going to say, of something that we originally loved doing. So being familiar with and reminding yourself who you are and why you want to do what you do is really the first step, and really bringing it back into you. So we'll take a few minutes in a little bit to work on the audience audit, but really consider, like, what are you really an expert in? Is, if you are in real estate, are you just a people person and you love just working with people? Is that your expertise, or is it just you love the concept of buying and selling houses, right? Understanding what that means for you is really important. Then we're going to go into them. And in that respect, it's really important that you define as much as you can who your audience is. And I write it here exactly how I would say it. Know your market, period. Because if you don't know your market, or you think everyone is your market, you're not going to get to where you want to be. So really give your market a name, personify who your market is so that you can clearly understand who you're trying to reach in the process. So our first exercise, and this is going to be our breakout session, we will be breaking into what we refer to as breakout rooms. And a few of us will be in there with you guys so that, we're here for questions, but this is really going to be independent time for you to really just answer a lot of these questions. And I really don't expect you to complete it as much as you possibly can today. You do have some time between now and the next session to do so, especially if you need to do a little bit more research or you're not quite sure. It definitely takes some time. So our first step in this exercise is, who are you, right? Did I go backwards? There we go. And then the second step is, who are they, right? In the audience audit. So remember that everyone is not your customer. And so many people have said that to me. Well, I want to sell it to everyone. Everyone will work with me for X, Y, and Z reasons. While I get that, and while you may be able to appeal to a lot of different markets, at the end of the day, there's really one or two, maybe three different defined categories of individuals that are your number ones. And those are the ones that we're talking about here. And those are the ones that I really encourage you all to define as clearly as you can and make them a person. In the worksheet, there's an image of a person here. If you do some research after the fact and you go online and you Google what your ideal audience looks like, maybe there's an actual photo of who that is. And it helps you really clarify exactly who they are. Again, we don't have to be 100% today, but I really would love for you to have a good idea of what your answers are on these two sheets. So, Nancy, if we want to do our first 10.
Yeah, before we go off, just looking at the audience sheet, can you go into a little more? What is my overwhelm point?
Good question. So when we're doing our work on an average day-to-day basis, we find ourselves confronted with a situation or people or technology, for that matter, things that are in our lives that may get in our way. And at that point, we feel overwhelmed. Maybe it's you have too many tasks to tackle at once and you don't know where to go first. You're overwhelmed. I don't know what to do. My overwhelm point is when too many people are yelling at me at once, asking me for things. You know, maybe that means one of your goals is to hire somebody, right? That doesn't relate to social media per se, but maybe it does. Maybe hiring is part of your strategy and you're going to throw in posts about hiring staff or talking about your staff, right? So your overwhelm point is that point in which you are maxed out and you don't have any more answers and you don't know what to do next. Great. Okay. I know it wasn't a ton of time. Like once you realize that you really have to delve into yourself and who the people are, it can take some time. So please do the best you can to fill this out as much as you can. Really help. It will really help you to take the next steps we're going to talk about today and then get to your actual plan for social media and then some next time. So any concerns quickly before we move forward, please start in the chat so you can not forget. And then we'll make sure that we answer some more questions before we break out next time. And also, if you have not muted yourself, please do. We'll try to go through and mute you as well. That would be great. Okay. Step 2 is our goal planning. Before I jump in there, there's a bonus sheet in here for everyone. This is this brand board sheet. This just helps go into you a little bit further. And as it relates to your specific business and what your effort is, if it's a business or if it's a project, something that you're working on as your business. It includes values, special keywords that you could use if you were to search for something or someone like you online. What's your story? What's a great way to share in 1 or 2 sentences about you? What's your persona? What kind of tone do you have? What's your language? And I don't mean language like you speak English, you speak Spanish, you speak French. I mean, what kinds of words do you use? I have seen authors who love to swear. That is the language that they use because that's part of their persona. That's part of their image and their brand. So it's not so much whether you're speaking English or a different language. It's what kinds of words are you using? What kind of persona are you putting off by the way you speak in whatever language you're sharing with your customers. So this is just a bonus sheet to kind of help you get further into a little bit more about you and your business. So we will be moving on to the goal planner. My printer didn't work, so it cut off the top. But this goal planner sheet is the next one we are going to be working with. And if I know a lot of folks already know what SMART goals are, I go into this a little bit anyway, either as a refresher or for those of you who may not know what a SMART goal is. SMART is an acronym, so it's not that your goal has, some sort of Ivy League degree. It's simply that it's these 5 things to make sure that your goal is not just some lofty idea that may or may not work. So we'll go into creating a goal with goals that we have. And I'm the executive director. I didn't even talk about myself because I don't like to. So if you have any personal questions about my history and who I am and why I know any of this stuff, I'm happy to share another time. But for right now, we need to get into the content. So I run a downtown organization here in Bernardsville, New Jersey. We do a lot of events for the town. We do a lot of different kinds of projects. And right now we are in the middle, I want to say, maybe getting to the tail end of Restaurant Week. It ends on Sunday. If you love food, come to Bernardsville. We have fabulous places. Shameless plug. So for this event this year, and what we try to do with most of our events is create goals for ourselves and what we want to achieve. Someone in here is on one of my planning committees, and yes, we need to do this more. So pay attention. So we had two specific strategies, goals that we wanted to achieve as a result of this event. And that was one personal for us and our organization, and also another for the town overall as a whole, specifically our restaurant community. So we wanted to increase our social media following. While it's been slowly growing, it's been kind of stagnant. We just post and post and post and really haven't had a lot of extra engagement. So we wanted to start livening that up a little bit more and really increase our numbers. We also, obviously, with everything that we do, we wanted to promote our community, but specifically with this, our restaurants. July is dead around here when it comes to our business and our just our business community as a whole. Everyone goes to the shore. So it's a great time to encourage more people to come to our town. So with those two goals in mind, we made them SMART. And it wasn't just increasing a social media following. It was specific, getting 100 or more followers, whatever that number was, to get us to 2,000 followers. How are we going to measure it? We're going to use Instagram, and we're going to use the measuring tactics and the tools that they have there to be able to tell us whether or not we've achieved our goal. Is it attainable? Yeah, it's new to us, so we want to start with a reasonable number. 100 is a fairly reasonable number with the tactics that we've put in place. If we said we want to get to 3,000, might not be so attainable, not within a relatively small timeline. So we want to make sure it's realistic. So with the appropriate tactics and following through with those tactics, it'll be absolutely realistic, and we will be able to achieve what we want at 100 followers, not 1,000. And the timely component is how much time we're going to devote to this specific goal. Is it going to take us 6 months? Is it going to be 2 years? Or is it going to be a couple of weeks? For us, just before restaurant week, and then the actual restaurant week, 10 days. So give or take about 2 weeks of really focusing on growing the social media following. So this was goal number 1. Goal number 2 was to promote the restaurant community. So how did we do that? We wanted to have at least 8 to 10 restaurants on our list. We ended up having 12, which was great. We are able to measure with cover counts, which essentially is each person that orders the restaurant week menu. So it's a specific menu that gives us an idea of whether or not people are using it and people are ordering it, right? The restaurants participate with us in sharing that information. Any promotion, really any promotion encouraging people to come to a restaurant will incur some sort of response, right? Either they'll be busier one night, if it's a discount, if it's a free drink, if it's a free app with a certain kind of purchase, any kind of promotion ends up getting some sort of response. So yes, absolutely, this is attainable because we're trying to get people in, and we certainly will with this kind of event. Definitely a realistic concept. Again, appropriate tactics and follow through will definitely get there. And then the actual timeline of doing this is not just the restaurant week time and just before, it's actually 8 weeks prior to. So creating any advertising and any other elements, graphics, things like that, they start really at least 8 weeks ahead of time to get the momentum going and to start getting that information into the community. So that our timeline on this was the 10 days of the actual event, promoting the restaurants and being here and doing what we need to do, but also preparing ourselves ahead of time. So those are our 2 goals. I want you to just think about that for a second. We're going to take 5 minutes. If you need to grab a drink of water, if you need to use the restroom, now's a great time to do that. So I'm not going to stop the share. I'm going to just leave this here. Feel free to turn off your cameras for a couple minutes, or just think about what we just talked about, if that's what you want to do, or remove your brain completely just for a couple minutes, so that you can let in what I just mentioned about the SMART goals sink in. Okay, so we will be back here. 45. Oh, we are running out of time. Do we even have, Nancy, do we even have time for a quick break?
You mean like people should break? I was thinking we're just going in the breakout room.
Yeah, we might do that. So is everyone okay to keep going for a couple minutes?
Yes.
Yeah, we're good. Okay, so we'll keep going. I was going to allow you to, like, you know, kind of let it go, but I'm realizing we don't have a lot of time. When we do our SMART goals, the idea here is between your audience audits and your SMART goals, when you marry those together, you are in goal heaven. You have everything, you're armed with everything that you need to be able to prepare your strategy. And you want to make sure you do this before you're choosing things like your brand color and your logo. If you don't already have those things, this is really important to get you set up for success. So when we're going to do our SMART goals, I don't want to see anybody giving a mediocre type of answer. Okay, you need to be very clear in what you want to achieve. Now, for the purposes of this course, we're talking about social media. We're talking about creating a month of social media in a really short amount of time. But what do you want to do with that social media? Why do you want to do that? Is there something about your business that you're wanting to promote? Is there something that you want with engagement? What are your goals for right now? And we're going to do the breakout for 10 minutes instead of that 5-minute little break. You can use the bathroom if you need to. But during this 10 minutes, create 1 or 2 goals, depending on how you're feeling, and then get smart. So use the planner. There's lines here. It says goal 1, and then the SMART, and just write that out as best you can. So in an effort of time, Nancy, you want to break us out one more time? And we're going to take our last 10 minutes and go into our goal planning.
Here we
Olivia?
go.
Yes, sir.
Olivia, we have 10 minutes left for this webinar, and I'm just wondering whether a better use of time might be for you just to kind of canvas from everybody and then have a little Q&A.
I will leave it open to the group.
So,
Nancy, what do you think?
yeah, the rest of the group, do you want to just have some question and answer with Olivia? I think there's just a couple more slides teeing up for
Yep.
the next session. There was one question: how did you decide on those 8 to 10 restaurants? How did you select them?
You mean specifically which restaurants?
Yes.
That was not actually our choice. We hope to get at least 8 to 10. That was part of our goal to get that many. And we left it out. We have about 28, I think, food establishments of varying shapes and sizes in town. So we put it out there and we said, if you want to participate, we would love to have you. If not, we understand. And we ended up getting about 12 in the process. Because at the end of the day, it's the restaurants that also, it's the businesses that want the promotion. If they don't feel they need it or they don't want it, then they don't have to participate.
I think everybody would like to just go through with you in the slides instead of breaking out.
Okay, let's do it. We'll keep that for homework. Because I think you have a goal planner worksheet as well, like a guide. So that can help you as we move forward. So let's just hop into then the strategy so that we can take the goals, we can take our audience audit, and then go into our strategy. So I'm going to do just an example so you understand how to do the strategy planner, because your strategic plan sheet is also in your mix. So our SMART goal with increasing our social media following, these were the details I mentioned before. So when you go into the strategic planner and it says drill down, you're going to take every single one of these statements and you're going to turn it into one sentence. That's what the drill down part means. Can you see that? Because I have like a thing. You can't see it. So it says drill down on the next box. That's what that means. You're going to take everything that you have in your SMART goal and you're going to create one sentence as a result of that. So for our strategy for social media, increasing our social media following, our strategy is to increase our following to about 2,000 followers on Instagram specifically, over a 2-week period that we will measure by the amount of follows we have, obviously, right? We want to increase followers, and also our engagement so that we know that we're having quality growth. We don't just want randomly people following us that have nothing to do with what we do. We want quality engagement. Okay. For our second goal, we wanted to increase our social media following. That's all great, but that doesn't necessarily give us what we need, right? Like that doesn't give us, okay, well, how, right? Am I doing this? Oh, so by this, that's very limited in content. This gives us more content. Do we see the difference between having just a basic goal with not enough fleshed out information and having this giving us more information? This way we can create our strategy and then our tactics as a result of that strategy. So our second strategy was to promote the local restaurant community. I see Annie, you have a hand up. Just hold on a second. Again, 8 to 10 restaurants, et cetera. These were our SMART goal aspects. So here, to promote our local restaurant community, our strategy is to work with 8 to 10 restaurants in the community over the course of 8 to 12 weeks to encourage the promotional tactics and more attendance during a specific period, which is Restaurant Week, that will measure by the popularity of Restaurant Week menus. And we measure the popularity of the Restaurant Week menus by the specific people that actually order it. Andy, go ahead.
I just wanted to confirm, so basically what we're going to be doing is taking like our first goal that we're gonna be, I guess, doing offline,
Mhm.
using all of like the smart one-liners to create one sentence for the drill down.
Yes.
Okay,
And your drill
Got
down, and then that ultimately is your strategy.
got it.
Make sense? Are we lost? Is anyone needing more clarification? My hand is up, but it doesn't need to be up. I think it automatically thought that I needed to put my hand up.
We do have
Okay,
we do have a couple of questions. I don't know if you want to
Okay.
finish this thought and then go back to the questions.
No, go ahead.
Okay. Do you recommend any good catch lines to hook clients in?
Really good question, but that's a question for next week. I'm sure there are plenty, but right now you need to focus on you and what you want to be doing. Because if you want to create some sort of social media plan, you can't make it effective, and it will do nothing for you unless you have this strategy in place. Again, I mentioned it earlier, if folks are hearing it again, but if you weren't here earlier, it's shooting in the dark and hoping something works out if you don't have a strategy in place. It's really important. I know it's difficult to want to do all this extra work. Like, I just want to get to the stuff already. And I totally understand that. And I relate to it very much. But this is crucial if you want to be successful in creating your social media plan.
I know you and I have spoken about AI a bit, and even with Canva, it has an AI component.
It does.
And I know we'll be looking at that next week. Are there any other AI tools that you use for your marketing?
I personally do not. Canva is really helpful in engaging that. If you use the ChatGPT or any other kinds of formats, I mean, feel free to use those. But at the end of the day, you're going to need to look at that, and you're going to need to change whatever it wrote for you, because it doesn't necessarily mean it's your voice. It doesn't necessarily mean it matches any of the items that you put in your audit of yourself, right? Because your business will only be successful if you separate yourself out from everyone else. Everyone is going to use an AI tool, and they're all going to copy and paste it. So you're just going to sound like everyone else if you allow that to do your social media for you. It's a guide, it's a tool, and then you have to make sure you look at it and change it. And we'll dive into that next week as well. But here, you really, really, really need to make sure that you have your plan in place. Otherwise, you will not succeed. It doesn't matter what you plan for your social media. It will not work. You will not get the results that you want.
Yeah, SCORE, I think Northwest New Jersey did a segment last week, and it was recorded on how to use AI for marketing. But as Olivia said, that's a second step after you've done this, but it is out there on the SCORE site. Another question, how to make Instagram postings more attractive?
Again, next week. This is a two-part session for a reason, okay? And I know this is tough to be able to, see these things and be like, okay, that's all great, but I want to know about social media. This is a two-part session for a reason, right? They're more attractive if you create a plan. If you know who you are, you know who your market is, and you create what you're trying to achieve, then your post will automatically become more attractive to people. It's not just what to post. Oh, I need to know what to post. No, that comes later. You will automatically know what to post once you have this put together.
Last one at this point, how do you keep up with all the platforms? They constantly change functionality and get more complicated over time.
A tool like Plan, when we talk about that next week, is really helpful because they offer a lot of, they have like a blog, and they update you regularly on new things that keep coming up. So just sticking to one specific tool, that company will send you emails, they'll send you information to keep you up to date on changes that are happening. And those tools in the end give you additional tools based on those changes. So if hashtags are really important all of a sudden 1 week, because they were at one point and then they weren't and now they are again and whatever, it's all over the place. That tool that you end up using will help you determine what the hashtags are, how to find them, how to include them in your posts, all of those things. So it's really important, like I mentioned at the very beginning, setting yourself up for success, having those tools ready for you on hand that you can always access so that you can keep yourself up to date with whatever's going on. You as the business owner don't need to constantly be thinking about, oh my God, the algorithms changed. Don't worry about that. As long as you have your system in place and the goals that you put together, especially the strategy, right? Then you don't have to worry about those things. It'll all fall into place as you move forward.
And I think I've found from working with a number of clients that by them being engaged with other people in the industry or like businesses, they don't have to be the same business, or being involved in a chamber or a Main Street organization, you learn what other people are using and you get some new ideas by working with those individuals.
Yeah, again, just as long as you have your plan and your tools in place, everything else will come a lot easier. And that's the whole point of this whole 2-part session is how to do it in 1 day. Well, you can do it in 1 day by making sure that you have all of your tools in your arsenal and you're prepared for battle. Like you're not going to go into battle without a weapon, right? So why would you go into social media without a plan? It's not going to provide success for you. And this just to demonstrate, we are not, I have this image from the 16th. So we were only about 6 or so days into Restaurant Week and we got about 62 new followers as a result. Yes, you're going to have unfollows. It's just the nature of it. But our overall halfway through, we're at 55. I say we're on track to achieving our goal because we had a plan, because we knew how to do it, and because we were ready to go with what we needed to do.
So you have asked your homework. Good. Let's move on.
So your homework is to complete your strategy, one or strategies, multiple, based on your goals. So if you create 3 goals, do not create more than 3. Do not overwhelm yourself with too many things. Pick at most 3 or at least 1. Create the strategies based on those goals. Again, complete all the sheets as you can. And then I will encourage you, if you would like, to send me your strategy worksheets, all of the sheets completed. I will select 2 of them and I will, if you are open to it, I will critique them at the beginning of next week's session. And give you some pointers or give some feedback and whatever the case may be. In the process, if you don't know plan that. The links are provided in the slides here, and Canva. If you don't have accounts with those 2 companies, I guess, those 2 tools, please create accounts. They are free to start, so you do not have to pay for anything. There are paid versions as well, but don't worry about that right now. If it ends up being something that really works for you, you can make that choice later down the line. But do create those initial accounts so that when we get to this next week, you can follow along and do your work as we're discussing how to use both of them.
I just put Olivia's email address in the chat, but I'll also include it in the email that I'm sending out with the links so that you can send your materials to her directly.
Yes. The hour is such a short amount of time. I never prepare myself for how much I speak. And those of you here who know me know this. But yeah, if you are stuck and you just are not sure, or you don't want to do these sheets, reach out to me. Let's figure out what that is. But definitely have it ready for next week. And next week's session will give you all of the tools that you need to be able to effectively promote on Instagram, at least on Instagram, and then you can take it as you need later.
So I'm gonna take the screen share back.
Do it.
And I want to thank Olivia very much for today's session, and hope you guys learned a lot from it. And hopefully you'll be able to utilize her services and be able to bridge between this week and we'll see you next week. Because I think it's a great opportunity to put it all together. And I've seen Olivia work through Canva and plan that, and it's really makes a whole lot of sense. So it's next Wednesday, same time, part 2. And we'll send out the reminder with the links and Olivia's information. And hopefully we'll see you all next week.
I did forget to mention one little thing, and that this was something before I got caught up in the time. Someone had mentioned to me, if you see somebody in the group that you want to connect with, please, you can either share information in chat. Otherwise, Nancy, is it possible for us to share contact information, or if someone reaches out to us, we can share certain information with them? Because if you all want to work together, I think it's a great opportunity to do so.
Yeah, we'll definitely link people up. We'd want both parties to be aware. So if you send me an email and indicate that you'd like to get the contact information for somebody else, I will do so. Or you can chat with them directly on here and link up here and share your information. I'll stay open for a few more minutes after we are finished here. And if you are in chat and want to talk to somebody else and get your linking set up, that would be perfect.
I will stay with you, Nancy, for a couple minutes if anyone else has a burning question, or if they're like, whoa, we just went through that last thing really fast. So if anyone has a question last minute, if you need to go, feel free to pop off, whatever you need to do.
There was, so people, as Olivia said, if you have to leave, that's great, that's fine. But we'll go through any other questions. One individual asked, appointment scheduler and POS should be on one platform, one system, and email campaign, ? Please advise.
What's the business? I'm sorry. Hi.
Can you hear-
JD, you're having trouble with your microphone.
Like my microphone not working. Can you hear me?
Yes, much better.
Okay, perfect. So the business is a beauty and wellness center. My wife is a cosmetologist, and she has been in industry for more than 10 years, working with doctors like laser hair removal and facial and all those things. Now
Okay.
she decided to start her own. We recently finalized the place and opened just this month, 2 weeks ago only, very new. So that's why I was asking question like the appointment scheduler and the point of sale system should be on one platform, one system from the integration point of view, or it really doesn't matter.
As much as you can streamline, it's way easier on you as a business owner, especially in a small business capacity, to streamline any of your technology tools that you need. I know there's one platform in particular. I'm sure there's others that I have personally used. It's a little bit pricier. It's called Lightspeed, and it's a POS system, but they do have scheduling tools built in. They do have capabilities to send out marketing emails. I haven't used it in quite some time, so I would think they also have potential for like text options as well, doing all that automation to help you just be consistent. So if you can find something that puts a lot of those things together, go for it. A lot of the processes when it comes to digital marketing in general, if you can automate it, do that. Having something happen when you're not paying attention to it, like a post going out, which is what we're going to talk about next week, while you're doing something else and you're not on social media posting, it's like the greatest, most relieving thing you could do as a business owner. So if you have something in mind or you're researching or whatever, and they can do it all, do it. Just don't go for something that costs less, because you will find yourself challenged with whether or not it works. And this is from personal experience. We used my husband's business. We used a POS system that had email things built in, whatever. We would set it up. Emails never went out. We ended up investing in something like Lightspeed that was a little bit more on the pricey side, but every time we used it, it worked flawlessly. And it really helped us to be automated in the process. So that was a long answer to say, yes, do that.
Plus,
I don't see any more questions. Anybody have some questions that I missed? I don't see any other coming in, just a lot of thank yous, Olivia, for taking us through
Yeah.
this material. And
Yeah.
all right, well, if anybody has any issues between now and next week and want to talk them through, but otherwise, hopefully we'll see everybody next week and we can see you follow through on your strategy. All right, thank you, Olivia. Thank you, Ray.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody, for attending.
Good
I
luck.
really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. See you next week.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.